This is a Commitment 2020 special. Tonight, primary countdown.
For hundreds of years, Granite Staters have gathered to cast their ballots. And in 2020, they'll do it again. But it will be amid a deadly pandemic. Things will look very different.
The number of absentee ballots being returned are climbing.
Close to 100,000 Granite Staters have requested absentee ballots, opting to stay away from the polls due to the threat of COVID-19. And for those who will vote in person tomorrow, several precautions will be in place.
The important thing this election is that people exercise their constitutional right to vote, and everybody should feel safe participating in that process.
The pandemic has transformed this campaign season as well. The virus sidelined campaigns in March, and candidates initially returned to the trail online before holding outdoor events this summer. But it's been very different, a struggle to maintain the New Hampshire way of doing politics, person to person, face to face. And it's not clear yet how voters will react in these primaries or who will turn out. Can hard-charging outsiders upset the establishment? Do in-state roots matter more than presidential endorsements? It's a voting day more full of unknowns than ever before. But tonight, in our Commitment 2020 Primary Election Eve special, we'll take you inside the races and look at how tomorrow's results will shape a November election both sides are calling the most important of our lifetimes.
Our expectation is that the job in New Hampshire is going to get done like it always is.
And good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Tom Griffith.
And I'm Jennifer Vaughn. We are just hours away from a state primary that will decide the matchups for a Senate race, both of New Hampshire's House seats, and the race for governor.
Unusual is an understatement for this primary. Many people have already cast absentee ballots, choosing to make their choices at home rather than in person because of COVID-19. Others are watching tonight to learn about these candidates for the very first time as people juggle this year's upheaval of work, school, and health issues.
Over the next hour, we'll provide profiles of the candidates in each race, as well as where they stand on key issues. And we offered them all a chance to make their final pitch to you tonight in their own words.
If you are going to the polls in person tomorrow, there will be safety measures in place because of COVID-19. Some moderators will require masks, but if you can't or don't want to wear a face covering, you'll have the option to use a separate voting area. Federal money is providing individual pens and pencils for voters so you don't have to share with other people. You'll also find plenty of hand sanitizer, sneeze guards, and social distancing signs, and poll workers will have protective gear, all covered by those federal funds.
At least 75,000 Granite Staters have already filled out their ballots, choosing to vote absentee instead of going to the polls. Political Director Adam Sexton joins us now with more on these unprecedented numbers of ballots that have gone out. And Adam, the plans now to process all of them.
Right, and Jen, here's what's so remarkable about this year, this so different election year. It's possible that close to 40% of the vote is already in and just waiting to be counted. Town and city clerks were open today from 3 to 5 p.m. to receive more absentee ballots, and still more could come in tomorrow.
For weeks now, voters have formed socially distanced lines at town and city halls to vote in the September 8th state primary election. Officials say statewide, more than 40% of ballots cast could be absentee. In order to count those ballots on Election Day, Manchester is adding an extra tabulation machine in all 12 wards.
What we've done in anticipation of the demand and the volume is we've leased a second tabulator, so there'll be 2 ballot tabulators at the polls on Election Day. Moderators will be tabulating their absentees first through one of those, while that won't interfere with live voting.
Manchester City Clerk Matt Normand is urging in-person voters to be mindful of the service poll workers will be providing amid the COVID-19 pandemic.
Many of them are a little older. We would ask that consideration be given to them, and if you could wear a mask for those 20 to 30 minutes that you're in the polls, we would sincerely appreciate that.
The Secretary of State's office says on Tuesday, distancing may make lines look longer than they really are. But officials expect the voting process to go smoothly, with perhaps only slight delays in the reporting of election results.
We fully expect that the election results are going to be reported on the night of the election.
Clerks are asking voters to bring ID and their patience on Election Day but say they're ready to go.
I think Tuesday is going to be a big test, and if things go well, I think that will bode well for November.
And one of the big races this time around is between Democrats running for governor. On the Republican side of that primary, incumbent Governor Chris Sununu is also facing a challenger here.
Well, Jen, it's possible in the race between Dan Feltes and Andrew Volinsky, the vote could be very close, and it might be the one that keeps us up late on election night.
In this pandemic election year, Dan Feltes and Andrew Volinsky are fighting battles on three fronts. The two Concord progressives are facing off in the Democratic primary for the governor's race. They're also eager for any opportunity to take on the incumbent, Governor Chris Sununu. And they're fighting for the eyes and ears of voters whose attentions have been understandably drawn away by concerns over COVID-19.
The extra work, the differences pale in comparison to the folks who are worried about food and worried about being evicted.
It's absolutely different, but we have to lift up the voices of people on the ground. Those workers on the front lines, they're keeping our state and our country afloat.
Feltes, the state's youngest ever Senate Majority Leader and the establishment favorite in this contest, began this campaign summer trying to dodge the more pugnacious Volinsky's attacks, but the last few weeks have featured more direct engagement.
I am not on both sides of every issue. Dan tends to be.
The now abandoned proposal for the Granite Bridge natural gas pipeline continues to be a flashpoint. Volinsky opposed the project. Feltes supported it, but the senator says his record on clean energy is clear.
I've led the way in energy efficiency, on solar, on net metering, been the champion there.
Volinsky made a name for himself in New Hampshire, litigating the Claremont lawsuit in the 1990s to reform education funding. As an executive counselor, he's been a leading figure in blocking several of Governor Sununu's nominations, even when it draws political blowback.
I do admit that in some ways I take the Popeye approach to politics. I am who I am.
Feltes, too, has clashed with Sununu on issues like paid family and medical leave. He also highlights bills passed and bipartisan accomplishments.
It's one thing to talk about the issues, it's another thing to actually have done it.
Now, as we mentioned, Governor Chris Sununu is also facing a primary opponent this year. Longtime conservative activist Karen Testerman is challenging the governor from the right, contending that pandemic precautions are an unnecessary infringement upon liberty. She says if elected, she'd rescind all of the governor's emergency orders and completely reopen the state. Sununu has avoided much mention of this race, contending his response to the pandemic is appropriate.
Well, again, these are very uncharted waters around the pandemic. And I think first thing, we've built a great team. And when you build yourself and surround yourself with a good team, whether it's folks that are getting PPE, understanding what testing possibilities and capabilities that we have, understanding where the funds and resources really need to go, where some of those gaps in the system are.
I think that being in a public office means that we are serving the community, that we need to listen to them, and also it's important to report back to them what it is that you are doing on a regular basis.
Also, someone to watch in this GOP primary, a Free Stater from Keene who goes by the name Nobody. And as far as the Democratic primary for governor, this has been a very hard-fought contest. There's not going to be any rest for the winner. Polls do show that Governor Chris Sununu is popular and is still sitting on some $800,000 in campaign cash as of the last filing deadline.
All right, thank you.
All right, so now the major Republican candidates in New Hampshire's 2nd Congressional District primary say Congress needs a dose of fiscal responsibility. We asked Steve Negron and Lynn Blankenbecker how they plan to approach that issue on Capitol Hill if they're elected.
Oh, we absolutely have to control spending, and more stimulus packages with pork put in there to get everybody's pet project paid for is not appropriate, and it's unfair to the American taxpayers, and we absolutely should not be looking at stimulus packages that will do that. Stimulus package was for the purposes of keeping our economy going and making sure that American families did not suffer, and certainly those small businesses that drive our economy in this country. So the president's done a great job already getting things turned around. We're going to continue to do that, but I definitely would not support stimulus packages that are going to bail out failed states or continue to add pork.
It's one of my top priorities, Adam. This out of control spending, this COVID-19 kind of gut punched us a little bit, but we cannot continue to spend and have this debt as well. It's something that absolutely has to be addressed, and it has to be done in a bipartisan way. Everything has to be on the table. There are no sacred cows out there. There's nothing that's sacrosanct that's not on the table, because if we don't do something fundamentally here, then our situation as a world entity and a world power is going to be threatened. And I think we have to do something right away.
Coming up, a look at 2 Republicans who are hoping for the chance to challenge Democratic Senator Jeanne Shaheen this year. Plus, candidates in New Hampshire's 1st District offer their ideas to make Congress more efficient.